Hey, it's Coach B here from Haven Fitness in Elizabeth, New Jersey. And yes, we're calling ourselves now Haven Fitness, not Haven Gym, because we are not a gym. We are a personal training and coaching fitness studio. Very different things. We'll make a future video on why that little word choice makes such a difference and why it matters. But I'd rather talk to you today about building better habits. How do we actually go about doing that, right? And I want to start off with a crazy, could be startling statistic, if I can get the pronunciation of the S right. In 2023, the self-help industry, check this out, was worth $41.2 billion. That was last year. Self-help book titles from Barnes & Nobles, Amazon, wherever you get your books at, right? That alone tripled in sales from 2013 to 2019. Clearly, the demand for self-help and specifically how do we build better habits, because that's what self-help basically comes down to. The demand is increasing ever so more year over year. And if we take a look at the whole industry as a whole, it's projected to reach 81.6 billion by 2023. And if I'm not mistaken, within 8 years, because now we're 2024, within 8 years, we should be looking at almost a doubling of the amount of money that us as consumers spend on to learn how to build better habits. Yet for some reason, it's sort of paradoxical, right? We spend more money, and you would think that the more money we spent, we should have solved this problem right now. And what is the problem per se? The problem is lack of discipline, lack of good habits, not doing what we know we're supposed to do. Avoidance behaviors, distraction behaviors, substance abuse behaviors, such as drinking too much alcohol, hitting the snooze button and not waking up, not going to the gym. We as humans still somehow, with close to $100 billion in sales, and I think these figures are just from American stats and not exactly international stats. But you would think after you spend $100 billion on a problem that perhaps we might make some headway into solving it. But that's not quite the case. And we find ourselves constantly being bombarded by new TikTok reels, new gurus on Instagram, new talk show hosts talking about their brand new meditation app that helped them, say, cure the depression. And we'll see all sorts of million and one things, from free and paid information that promises us this holy grail. If we just do this one thing or these 5 tips to better habit building, that some way, somehow, we're going to become the productivity machines that and the fitness freak enthusiasts that we all desperately want to be. But again, driving the point even further and beating the hell out of what's the phrase? You don't want to beat the horse. Right now we're beating down the horse, just basically plainly abusing it. We're spending all this money, but we're not solving it. So what the hell's the problem? And there's 2 answers for that. There's one that we're gonna call the behavior school's response and answer to that problem and their solution, quote unquote solution. And number 2, the philosophic. And first we're gonna start off with the behavioral. And the behavioral school basically looks at how much money we're spending, and it looks at the fact that human beings these are the 4 steps that human beings have to do in order to build habits, given the environments that they find themselves in. And those 4 steps, they were made popular and famous by James Clear of Atomic Habits, although these things have been researched as separate disparate elements and then synthesized and put together cohesively across the past 100 years of cognitive behavioral research. Research theory. And in the labs, they found through experiment that, say, with rats and with humans, and that there's these 4 steps. And I'm gonna look at my notes right here, and those 4 steps are called cue, craving, response, and reward. And it's a process that if we follow, then as backed up by science, by a scientific theory, we skyrocket our chances of being successful of actually waking up on time. We skyrocket our success of, probability of us actually going to the gym, because we have to understand what it is that's cueing us to form the good habit or the bad habit. What's the craving or the desire, the motivation behind what that cue is making us want to do, and then we want to go ahead and follow it up with the proper response that reinforces positively what we do want versus what we don't want, and negatively reinforce what we don't want. And then finally it ends off with, say, rewarding ourselves for having that good behavior. So we can go into further detail in the next video, because this video is just going to serve as an introduction for what I think is going to be a 3-part series for actually building better habits. But the whole point here is that the behavior school, they come from this standpoint, this vision of, say, discipline and the way that human beings work, that says, if these are the 4 steps, human beings lack discipline because they're just missing these 4 steps. And if they just did that, then they would go ahead and build better habits. And that's true to a degree, but it's not as elegant as the other philosophic school. And right before we get to the philosophic school, from that behavioral response, the behavior school's response to the problem of, hey, why are we so damn undisciplined? From there springs all sorts of different variations of the same vision of why human beings aren't disciplined and how to build better habits. Some of them go to the extreme end of the spectrum of nonsense, which is, say, you have to burn some sage and cleanse your energy because that's what's causing you to, say, block your power chakra, and because your power chakra is blocked, then that's why you find yourself being undisciplined. That's a whole load of bullshit. That's the burden of proof has to be on the chakra practitioners to go ahead and prove that, if that's what they truly believe, and if they're prescribing that and suggesting that as a solution. But that's an extreme nonsensical answer, right? On the other end of the spectrum, then you have the Dr. Hubermans of the world, who they say that if we want to be successful at building habits, then we have to wake up at these times. And it's all about hacking. That's what I'm trying to say. It's about hacking in a sense, or optimizing. Hacking would be, do this one tip, drink lime juice in the morning, because that's what's going to get your digestion rolling. And if you do that, then everything else follows. Those are like little hacks. And then there's more elegant, say, strategies or optimizations that, for example, people like Andrew Huberman or Ben Greenfield, they'll go ahead and say, you need to follow these 5 principles so that you can go ahead and maximize your productivity and your health and fitness and your longevity. And those things are more rooted in, say, more elegant responses to why human beings don't form proper habits, keep doing the same poor habits, and why, and how they can form better ones, right? And again, the solutions range from bullshit, nonsensical, unscientific, non-evidence-based solutions, such as aligning your heart chakra with your stomach chakra and your crown chakra and whatever, to, for example, what's the other one? To less elegant answers such as hacks, which is do this one thing, these 5 tips, to much more strategic optimizations of follow these 5 principles of health and longevity in human beings, and you'll be able to form better habits as time goes on. That's the behavioral school's response. If we look at the philosophic, and before we get to the philosophic school, the problem with the behavioral school is that you can have the very best hacks. You can have the very best placebo effects, giving your nonsensical ideas of how to better improve your habits and your discipline. You can know what the best principles are of, say, human habit optimization, by having watched 20 days and 37 hours of Dr. Huberman on YouTube and his podcasts. But why is it that although we know what to do, we still don't do it? And we can't argue that we don't know what to do. We know that we need to say, get up. We know that we have to smell the morning coffee. We know that we need to stop doing so and so. We know that we have to stop drinking when we get angry, because that just makes us angrier, and we feel ashamed in the morning when we wake up. So it's not lack of knowledge. Why is it that us as human beings, we have all this boatload of information, from very stupid information to very wise and helpful information? Why is it that we still don't do the goddamn thing? And this is where the philosophic school comes in. And the philosophic school's answer is a tragic one. And the tragic one is this, is that human beings are flawed and the world is flawed. And because of that, We are biologically predisposed to seek the shortest route towards success and instant gratification. And because of that, we are naturally inclined, others some more than others and less than others temperamentally, but because of that, and even culturally to a degree, we have these forces within us that don't want to wake up early, even knowing that we have all the principles. And on the other hand, not only are we flawed, but the world is flawed. And why is the world flawed? Because it's quote unquote flawed because we have to work. We can have the best tools and tips and strategies and the very best, say, principles at hand. We can read all the self-help books on the planet. That's what I did. I read all sorts of stuff, right? And it doesn't remove the fact, it doesn't eliminate the fact that hard work is still required. And what is hard work? Hard work is sacrificial. We have to sacrifice the present short-term joys and pleasures of life, such as sleeping in, for the long-term rewards and fruits of what we want, such as being more productive at work and getting that raise. And although we didn't want to go to the gym, we go to the gym, and now we're fit and we're healthy, right? Hard work is painful. There's no way around it. You can optimize your environment. You can edit your social circle. You can get the best, say, personal trainer on the planet. You can organize your life and have the best strategy, but it doesn't remove the fact that you have to execute the strategy, right? And so, in a nutshell, life is difficult, and it's also difficult being a human being. And what the philosophic school says is that if we accept that, if we accept the difficulty of life, if we accept our flaws as human beings, and we understand that we're not going to be perfect, and there's going to be a day where we break that chain, and what is required of us is that, given that life is difficult and painful a lot of times, has its good things as well too, but given that life requires this hard work and sacrifice, that if we can accept that, and if we can also accept logic, and we can make the logical conclusion that we are able to do it because, one, we've done it before, two, we found ourselves having done it, not having died, so we actually logically, realistically, evidence-based wise can actually do it, then that's when we can make a profound change. And I'm going to see if I can say this in a different way so it makes more, it can sound more simple and more elegant. And we can have the best tools on the planet, the best strategies and principles and optimizations, but that does not neglect the fact that we got to get to fucking work. That we're going to face resistance, that we're going to want to stay in bed, that we still have to fight through that to get what we want. And sometimes we're going to fight through it not as smartly as we could, clawing our way, not wanting to do it. Some days we're on fire, some weeks, months, and years we're on fire, and then some other ones we're not. It's harder for us. And the whole point is of this 3-part series is that I want to do two things. Number one, I want to get you to understand that change is ultimately going to boil down to your willingness and your, say, desire to make a change. Number one. Number two, to make that change despite whatever adversity there is in front of you. And three, understanding the pros and cons and forming rational beliefs as to why you would want to even get up early in the morning, and maybe why waking up at 4:30 in the morning doesn't work for you just because Jocko Willink does it. Or maybe it does because that's something that has a better ratio of pros versus cons. And I want to arm you with these rational beliefs so that you can understand I still got to do the work. I can have the best strategy, but I still need to execute. And then number two, secondly, I want to then arm you with the strategies. How do we optimize the environment? How do we go ahead and what are the principles of, say, cue, craving, response, and reward, and how do we actually apply that to several different and specific examples? But I want you to walk away having watched this video understanding that, again, there's the problem of lack of discipline is never quite going to be solved. Why? Because we are humans, and human beings are imperfect, and they're going to slip up. But the best thing you could do when you find yourself slipping up, when you find yourself performing lazily or not performing at all is to get back on the goddamn horse and do what needs to be done, knowing that you can't do it because it's not going to kill you, and number two, that it's going to require work. Yes, life requires work. It requires sacrifice, and it is just a question of whether or not it is worth it to you, because just because something is difficult does not justify it being a valid reason for you not to do the work. Raising children is difficult. Is that an excuse not to raise them? No. Taking care of a loved one who's sick is difficult. Is that an excuse to abandon them? No. Perhaps that means you might have to get somebody else to help you share the load and whatnot. But life is difficult. Does that mean giving up on it? No, it doesn't justify it. That makes no sense. And with that being said, we'll dive deeper into the rational, ironclad belief system that I think is going to help you drive through all those moments of laziness, of lack of discipline. And then in the next video, we're going to talk about, all right, well, how the hell do we have to do? What do we actually do it? How do we actually construct healthier habits and deconstruct bad habits that don't lead to much but short-term joy and long-term suffering? We want short-term suffering and long-term joy, right? And so I hope that helps. I hope that helps you understand that, again, it's always going to require work. You know, best strategy doesn't matter if you don't execute it. And so until the next video, if you need some help, right, and you're in the Union County area, then feel free to go ahead and give us a call. I'll put the number somewhere around this video or in the description box. Give us a call and we'll be more than happy to go ahead and set you up with an accountability coach and personal trainer who will be able to give you the rational beliefs that are going to best serve you as an individual versus somebody else, like your brother, your sister, your cousin, your friend, your dog. And then also give you the strategies, the exact, all right, how to, like, go buy this at the grocery store, have this at this time, you know, deadlifting this way, fix this lower back arch, and we'll arm you with those tools and the beliefs in a more personalized, one-on-one, individualized setting. But through these videos, I hope you get that generic advice. So God bless, thank you so much, and yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Take care of yourself. Have a wonderful day.